Welcome to Steady Die Casting Solution. My name is Bharat Sharma, and today we talk about in this video about alloys. So what kind of alloy in die casting we are using. So aluminum, zinc and magnesium come in many different alloys. Each has certain specification and characteristic. The type of alloy used influence the speed of solidification during casting. The metal purchased to use in the casting can come in many different forms and may vary greatly in quality. The ultimate quality of the die casting depend on the quality of raw material, the material preparation process and the process used in creating the component. After completing this video, and you will be able to identify three typical forms of metal, and you will be able to explain the difference between primary and secondary metal. You also will be able to identify 4 quality standard to follow when receiving ingots and so. And you also you will be also able to explain why process control is so important in the melting area. So this information you can use to identify the similarities and difference between common alloy used in the die casting. So alright, we move on. So aluminum alloy, we talk about the aluminum alloy. So approximately 85% of the aluminum die casting are made from 380 alloy or modification of 380, such as 383 or 384. The other 15% are composed of mainly 360, 390, 413 and a small percentage of 443 and 518 grade. So grades of pure aluminum such as 150, 160 and 170 are used for making rotors. So as you can see, there are some table shows the most popular aluminum die cast alloy used today. Also we are presenting other tables for the most popular zinc and magnesium alloy used today. You can see these tables. Yes, for zinc and also for this magnesium alloy also. So these are the table, the most common alloy which we are using for die casting. So now we talk about the cooling curves. So each type of alloy cools at a different rate. It is important to know the solidification range of the alloy being used and the shape of its cooling curve. These are used to establish dwell time of the casting cycle and influence gate design and other casting parameters. For example, the dwell time required for the 390 alloy is approximately 30% longer than for the 380 alloy. This is because 390 has a 255 degree Fahrenheit solidification range, while on the other hand 380 alloy has only 100 degree Fahrenheit range. So is there huge difference which define their cooling curves or solidification range depending on their type of alloys. Okay, so if we talk about the metal forms or the purchasing metal, so metal comes in variety of forms. The 3 typical forms are saw, ingot and molten metal. So saw are a large block, as I earlier told you. Saw is a bigger form of ingot used to charge a reverberatory furnace. Ingot usually weight about 30 pounds and are also used to charge reverb furnace. The decision to use saw or ingot depends on the type of alloy, quantity needed and the size of the reverb furnaces. Molten metal can be purchased in many areas. The distance from the alloy producer to the die casting facility dictate whether molten metal can be used. Significant energy saving can be realized with the use of alloy supplied in molten state. However, minimum order you have to decide in your facility of the molten metal is needed to justify molten aluminum uses. All metal purchased should come in certificate of analysis and spectrographic disc. The analysis should be verified prior to use. The metal should be inspected on the truck prior to unloading for oxidation and the cleanliness. Okay, so if we talk about the primary metal, so primary alloy are made from pure aluminum mixed with alloying element. The primary metal are supplied for all three of the common manner listed I have told you earlier. So however, typical die casting operation do not use primary alloy due to their cost. Primary metal cast ingot are produced by pouring metal into ingot molds and allowed to solidify naturally. So T-bar and direct chill cast semi-continuously and are sometimes filtered. These have more uniform structure and finer grain as cast ingot. On the other hand, if we talk about the liquid metal, if sufficient quantity of metal are required, metal can be purchased in liquid form and delivered in highly insulated ladle to the plant to required specifications. Many large die caster and quite a few smaller ones now purchase metal alloy in this liquid form. Alright, so we have another form, secondary metal. So secondary metal is produced from a scrap of various kind and is usually alloyed to specification. It is too can be purchased in ingots or in liquid form. Many secondary smelters furnish this material filtered. The metal is passed through a filter medium to remove oxide and inclusion prior to casting in iron molds. The liquid metal may also be filtered prior to transfer into the delivery ladle. Secondary metal is used extensively in the die casting industry. Metal characteristic. So if we recall, the metal should be inspected when received. Ingot should be bright and shiny, free from excessive dust and dirt, and it should be dry. And snow should be flat and smooth with no visible dross inclusion, not even beer water quench, have no interior cavity visible from the surface that may have trapped moisture during storage. Recall from the previous video, the water is dangerous when remelted. The trapped water turns to steam and blow the center out of the flow. So this could cause serious damage to both personnel and the equipments. Okay, the next thing is if you are purchasing scrap. So some companies purchase scrap and make their own alloys. This requires very careful control of the entire melt process. Scrap should be purchased by someone who is an expert in evaluating the material at the site of purchase. The purchase of material that is highly contaminated with the undesirable element can be extremely costly. For example, an inexperienced person might purchase 380 alloy contaminated with 13% zinc because he or she would not be able to tell the zinc casting from aluminum. Even experts are fooled on occasions, but an expert is not as likely to be fooled as someone with less experience. Even though this material is purchased at a greatly reduced rate, the total cost to chemically correct the melt will usually exceed the cost of certified secondary alloys. So scrap usually contain a great deal of oxide inclusions. Melt processing is necessary to remove them prior to delivery of molten alloy to the production area. Okay, now we talk about the alloy specification. The specification for die cast alloy are wide, and within those specification, alloy may process various casting characteristics. Each plant should be develop a specification or acceptable element range for its alloy. This specification should be adhered to rigidly. Like for example, consider the following modification to an in-house 380 specification. The silicon can be 7.5 to 9.5%. Specify 9 to 9.5, and for if we talk about the iron, so 1.3 is a maximum specification, and you can specify like a 0.9 to 1.2, right? So likewise you can specify in your own plant. So this specification could be placed on the purchase order along with the sludge factor to prevent the purchasing an alloy that will sludge readily at your operating temperature. Alright, so now we talk about the quality control. The chemistry, temperature and the melting and handling process must be rigidly controlled if metal of uniform grain size, oxide content, fluidity and the correct casting characteristics is to be produced on a continuous basis. Statical process control cannot be established in the die cast area until it has been established in the melting area. So this is an important thing. First you have to establish statical process control in your melting area as you required or as you want in your production area. So the casting process cannot be fully controlled without first controlling the molten metal quality. Alright, now we reach and we summarize this video. So a great percentage of aluminum die casting are made from 380 alloy or one of the 380 modification. Each alloy has a different characteristic and is used for different purposes. The metal is used in casting typically comes as saw, ingot or molten metal. So these are the made from primary or secondary metal. The metal quality should always be inspected when received. Scrap can also be purchased when making your own alloys. Chemistry, temperature and melting and handling process must be controlled to produce quality casting. So I hope this will help you. So keep learning and keep sharing these videos. Thank you very much. Keep learning till death.